Richie, the playoffs start Wednesday night in Boston. To be objective about the whole situation, the Hawks' luck against the Boston Celtics this season has not been good. What makes you believe that it's going to be any different starting Wednesday?
Well, I think there's a couple of very strong points that I told my players today at practice, and which I believe they believe in very strongly. Number one, we're not the same team we were when we played Boston earlier in the season. For the first two games, we didn't have Maravich or Washington or Don Adams. And then for the next two games, they had just gotten there, basically, and Pete had just returned. So truly we weren't anywhere near the type of team we are right now. So I think you have to almost disregard the past record of the two teams this particular season. But also, Carl, playoffs are really, until you've really experienced them yourself, or players have experienced them, it's very difficult for the fans to really realize what we're talking about, except it's a completely really new season. Stimulation on the part of individuals is just so overbearing during playoffs because they know it can be a very short season or a very long season, a very rewarding season. So the physical contribution by players as well as the mental contribution is at its utmost.
In the 4 games that you played Boston, though, you gave those games away. You had 127 turnovers, and you can't give the ball to them because they'll convert it.
That's been one of our biggest problems all year. You know, too many turnovers, not enough discipline on our offense, which I think has greatly decreased turnover-wise, you know, recently. And I think the dedication and leadership that we've been getting has made us a much better team.
We're talking with the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks, Marty Blake. Marty, you're the key man in the organization, and the big question that's now been asked for well over a year in the Atlanta area, what's the future of pro basketball in the Southeast and here in Atlanta? And you're the man to answer it, I believe.
Well, Skip, as you know, last year we finished 6th in the league in overall attendance, and our attendance is up despite the handicaps of the smallest building in professional sports. I think there's a tremendous amount of interest as judged by the many reservations that we receive from out-of-town Hawks fans and the vastness of our radio and television network, which is, as I'm sure you've pointed out many times, the largest in professional basketball, only helps to exemplify the efforts that we're making to promote basketball. I think our future is tremendous. We have the entire Southeast to draw from, and fortunately we have a young ball club, so we should be in the thick of a pennant race in our division for a good many years to come.
Would this be a good time to talk to you about a raise then?
Well, Skip, I don't you sort of threw me on that one. This would be as good a time as any, of course. The answer naturally is no. And as we look forward to another season, half season of basketball, I can only hope that we can continue the way we started out, because as you know, if we can stay on top with a 4 or 5 game lead going into March, we have a relatively easy home schedule, and I hope we'll be able to bring another championship to Atlanta.
It's the longest you've ever talked to me when I asked you that question. That's Marty Blake, the Hawks general manager. From the Coliseum, Skip Carey reporting.
Good.
Bill Bridges, everybody who follows basketball knows what a fine player you've been down through the years, and yet in this my 3rd year as broadcaster for the Hawks, I can say without reservation this is by far the finest year I've seen you have out of many, many good ones. Why this year are you scoring better, and why do you seem to be getting it done more?
I don't know, Skip. I think that this year is perhaps by far my best year in Atlanta as compared to last year. I think the move here and leaving my family in St. Louis and having to adjust mentally, and of course trying to adjust to Georgia Tech's playing conditions physically had a lot to do with it. But overall, if I look back over, I had a couple of real good years. I think the year 1967 was a good year for me. I think this by far has been my best year. After I've adjusted in a new community and taken on new duties as captain, understand my responsibilities a lot better now. I feel better mentally than I've ever felt before in my life. Just from a mental point of view, I don't have any mental strain as it relates to the team. I think physically I'm probably in better playing condition than I've ever had before. And then it goes a step further. We lost Lenny Wilkins one year, and then we lost Elmo Beatty the next year. And then as you look in the starting lineup, it looks like the club, if they were going to call for anyone who had some experience, they had to call on me. I've never been put in a position like that before, and I think I've just responded very well to the occasion. Along with Jimmy Davis, I've had a great deal of help. I can say one thing about this Hawk Club. I think it's perhaps attributes to my mental feeling that I've never been with a bunch of guys who have had a stronger desire to go out and win. There's a very great togetherness on this team I don't think that you'll find in any other club. And I think back at some of the other teams on their past successes, I think the Boston Celtics and perhaps the New York Knickerbockers now might be as together as we are.
Let's keep it up. I'm ready for the playoffs, aren't you?
Well, we're kind of thinking that way now. I think in view of a lot of things that's happened, there's only one thing left for us to do. We'd like to prove a point that we do have a bunch of fine ball players on our team, not 10 ball players, but we have 12 good ball players on our team, and I think that we'd like to prove to a lot of people that we have a championship team, which is something that I think that a lot of people seem to have a different kind of feeling about right now.
When are you going to do your next radio or television show? We used to have a pretty good one.
Well, I understand that you are director of radio TV for the Hawks, so I think as soon as you break down and give me another one, you kind of put me out of the limelight a little bit since we came to Atlanta. I guess you didn't want the competition.
You got named captain. I figured you had a good enough image. Thanks, William.
Thank you, Skip.
Appreciate it. Hawk captain Bill Bridges, Skip Carey reporting from the Coliseum.